Hey everyone, back to you in today's video. We're going to have a look at whether it's 8-10 days. It will take us to around the 13th of March, so going towards the middle part of the month, can you believe it? Looks like we're going to be seeing the cold weather we've got at the moment. We've had some snow across parts of the country overnight and previous morning. That'll be a thing of the past, I think, by the time we get through to the weekend. And then we're looking at quite a mild spell coming up, actually, a proper taste of spring over the weekend and into next week. So if you want to get out into the garden and start tidying things up from the long winter, it's good news. You'll be able to do so from the weekend. Weather looks set fair. Before I get on with the video, though, just say about the ads. There's links to articles most of the page. Use that gas. So just go and have a browse through widgets. If there's any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You'll be able to go off and read those articles. And thanks very much for doing that. The competition. I've got a competition coming on Sunday the 8th of March. We'll be running for a week. All the detail coming up over the next few days. I'm very pleased with the prize. So teamed up with the folks at metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation. I say all the detail on the prize and how to enter and all of that will be coming up over the next few days, so watch this space, but it'll be starting on Sunday. Right, let's get on with the video, and starting off with 500 with our height anomalies for the next 8 to 10 days. We've got the E70F here on the left, the GFS is over on the right. 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. So red is extrapolating to high pressure, blue is extrapolating to low pressure. Now we've got moderation coming for America. So finally, it looks like we're going to lose the cold trough that we've had through most of winter. So I think it's probably going to be a temporary thing. I think there'll be further blasts of winter through March and April. But at least for the coming week or so, the ridge is building in here across central and eastern parts of America. So things will be calming down, and they'll be losing those very severely cold winds from Canada that they have been getting. Both the GFS and the ECM agreeing on this. So what it means for us is very little difference really. The trough of low pressure is still there off the eastern coast of America and Canada, so it's not that far away. And then the jet stream comes out into the Atlantic and sort of runs to the north then. We've got this ridge of high pressure sitting around the UK, around western parts of Europe. Both the models agree on that. So it basically means that high pressure is going to be building in actually over the next week to 10 days. We've got high pressure building in central east parts of America, high pressure building in over Western Europe, and a trough through the central part of the Atlantic. So yeah, weather set fair quite clearly with that high pressure on its way. If you have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensemble, as you can see that we've got quite a bit of dry weather coming up over the next couple of weeks, but let's deal with the temperatures first. Well, the red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We're below average at the moment. It's quite cold, been a cold start to March, but look at this, got a big push up in the temperatures coming up over the next few days. So as we go through into the weekend and the start of next week, it becomes very mild indeed, almost going up to 10 Celsius at 850 HPA. That's sort of the kind of air mass that you would expect around June time. So a real push of very mild air. It won't be that mild down here on the surface, of course, because it's only March, so temperature will be limited. But nevertheless, we're going to get up to mid-teens, I think, by the time we get through to the weekend and the start of next week. And the general trend, I think, is to keep the temperatures above average as we go through into the second week of the month. Quite a bit of scatter, but the white line here is the interesting one. That's the ensemble mean. So averaging out every individual member of the ensemble, you come up with the ensemble mean, which is the white line, and that's staying solidly above the red line, above the 30-year average for just about the whole of the ensemble really going out into the second week of the month. So yeah, I think we're going to keep it generally quite mild. Perhaps not quite as mild as it will be over the weekend at the start of next week, but even so, temperatures solidly above average. As I say, but there's a little bit of scatter there, so it may turn cooler, but overall the trend, I think, is to keep temperatures above average, and quite a lot of dry weather coming in as well. There are some precipitation spikes coming through, but not with any great conviction, you have to say. Just sort of showery bands perhaps coming through occasionally, but overall a lot of dry and mild weather seems to be on the way. This is the ensemble for Chicago. Same idea as the UK ensemble, so the red line here's the 30-year temperature average. We've got one more very cold plunge coming up in central parts of America over the next 2 or 3 days. It goes very cold again, one more time. But then after that, the trend is upwards, and you can see there's very clearly a warming trend taking place here as we go through March. So I think the worst is nearly over for central, northern, eastern parts of America. There will be further cold plunges, I would suspect, through the rest of March and April on and off, but I think the worst that the winter has to offer is probably over in America. They'll be relieved about that. The temperature anomaly for the UK is coming out a little bit above average, so we're drifting towards the warmer side of the average. Because this is starting off quite cold, and this takes into account where we are at the moment. This is from the 3rd to the 11th of March. So once we get this cold weather out of the way that we've got today and tomorrow, gets around Thursday, I think this will look significantly warmer than this actually. We've got to get this first couple of days of the period out of the way. But overall, the trend is to go above average from the 3rd to the 11th of March, and that will increase, I think, as we go through the next few days. Temperature anomaly for America still looking very cold in central eastern parts of the state. As I say, this will be moderating. There's one more really cold plunge coming through this week, and then after that, things should start to get better for them. The precipitation anomaly going from the 3rd to the 11th of March shows that we're going to be generally on the drier side of averages. It's wet in the far northwest of Scotland. That's because the jet stream's running in close to northwest Scotland. So there will be some heavy rain up there, maybe quite persistent for the Outer Hebrides, but most parts of the country coming out drier than average. Here's the generic chart from the GFS, high pressure nicely centred over France as we go through into Saturday. Low pressure out around Greenland and Iceland, and bringing up this very mild southwesterly flow, so that's why the temperatures will be pushing up. It keeps the rain in the northwest, and close to this ridge down to the south it should be mostly dry, and that's how we go into Sunday as well. Going through into Monday, the high pressure is still there to the south and the east, low pressure out to the northwest. So we've got a weather front somewhere in this sort of zone just here. That's why western Scotland is going to be quite wet. Behind that, the air is quite cold. To the south of it, though, the air is mild or perhaps even warm. As I say, the Divine Line is bad weather front. It does mean that for parts of Western Scotland it could be very wet actually in this pattern, so not good news for them. But most places will be dry as we go through the weekend and into next week. The high pressure then sort of builds in over the country as we go through into Tuesday, and high pressure dominates then through into Wednesday as well. These low pressures are stuck out in West. Notice high pressure is trying to get itself up towards Scandinavia. There's no real cold pull over the continent though, so I don't think we're looking at cold easterlies particularly, and generally the wind stays from the south to southeasterly type direction through today, Friday the 13th of March. Here is how the temperatures are going to be responding with this. We're starting off cold, of course, in these green colours, so temperatures into the low to mid single figures for most of us, and that's how we're going to tomorrow as well, generally on the chill side. A little bit less cold tomorrow, but generally still quite chilly. From Thursday onwards, the temperatures start to push up, so up to 10 degrees on Thursday, 50 Fahrenheit, up to 11 degrees on Friday, 52 Fahrenheit, and then go through in Saturday. That's when the real mild push comes through. So Saturday sees the temperature up to 13 or 14 degrees quite widely across the country. That's around 55 to 57 Fahrenheit, and that just goes on then. So for Sunday we're up to 15, 59 Fahrenheit, Monday 15, 59 Fahrenheit, Tuesday it's a little bit colder for Scotland on Tuesday, but still generally around 14 or 15 for England and Wales, around the upper 50s Fahrenheit, and then the mild temperatures sort of extend actually as we go through into the middle of next week, going back up towards 13, 14, 15 degrees quite widely. So we're into the teens from the weekend and on into next week in terms of Celsius, into the upper 50s, maybe around the 60 Fahrenheit mark. In terms of the Fahrenheit, temperature is going to be very pleasant indeed. The east area backs it all up. Here we are for Sunday, I should say. The high pressure there is to the south-southeast, the low pressure up to the northwest, bringing up this very mild southwesterly flow. Will be wetter in the northwest, dry elsewhere. The high pressure then builds through the country as we go through the start of next week. Now, it does about this little area of low pressure on Tuesday. That's probably overdone. I think it's going too far back. That's basically the strung out weather front to the north and the west of Scotland, and there's sort of waves running along that weather front, sort of bring pulses of heavy rain to western Scotland. The east end have just developed one of those waves into an area of low pressure, but I suspect that's a bit over the top. But if it does come off, it will mean rain coming down across many parts of the country, but I'm not convinced about that, to be honest. In any case, as we go through next week, the high pressure re-establishes, ends up over Scandinavia, pulling up a southerly to southeasterly wind. That won't be particularly cold. So it looks like we're going to be warming up and settling down, really. We're starting off quite cold today. There's been some snow around. That's going to be a thing of the past. By the time we get through to Wednesday and Thursday, the snow will certainly be easing off. And beyond that, we're bringing up very mild air from the southwest. It's going to be a taste of spring from the weekend and on into next week as well. So temperatures up to around 13, 14 or 15 degrees. Do get out and enjoy it. We could get further throwbacks to winter through the second half of March and into April. It's not reliable. So if we get to this nice spell of weather at weekend and start of next week, do make the most of it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.